Welcome back, sports fans. I recently finished The Light of All That Falls by James Islington. It is the third and final installment in the Lycanius trilogy, and I thought it was a great time. I gave it 5 stars. Let's talk about it. I really enjoyed this novel. I thought it was a really fun time. The writing is nice. It's very concise and clear. I wouldn't say that the prose is beautiful, but it is good prose. I found the characters to be very lovable, very relatable, and overall it's a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy. So the plot is there. The plot is very important. Obviously, we're in this fantasy world. We're trying to prevent the destruction of this world by a godlike entity, Shemeloth. That is the vehicle of the story, is the plot. But I think that the characters are really what drives the story. I would definitely say that it's a character-driven novel. Even characters that we don't see quite as often, like Ditia and Aelric, are very important and very relatable, very lovable characters. On that note, I want to talk a little bit about the characters. Davian is a super interesting character, and from the jump in the first novel, he was my favorite character. He's really relatable, and I do think it's an interesting aspect of the novel to have almost all of Davian's development happen away from the main cast of the story, or at least the present day main cast. I thought that his imprisonment in this book was an interesting choice because it is engaging. It's an engaging part of the story to read, but you find yourself asking why? Why is this happening? Why are we seeing this? And you don't really get an answer until the end. That answer is pretty satisfying. Talking about Weir in the first novel, and even a little bit in the second novel, I felt like he was kind of boring. I was just getting through his chapters to get through them. But in the third novel, I feel like his character really starts to shine. He kind of comes into his own, and you see his personality, and you understand his motivations and his struggle with right and wrong and what are the correct choices, because he is making choices for all of these people now. He didn't ask to be in charge. He initially didn't seem like he wanted to be in charge, but he is, and now everybody relies on him to make the right decisions. I enjoyed that. I found myself constantly rooting for Weir, and by the end of the novel, I felt like he was kind of the glue that held everybody together. Asha may have nudged out Davian as my first place character. Asha is an incredible character. She's strong, she's intelligent, she's also very gentle, and she's also very human. There is a point where Asha has some really strong feelings towards Caden, and she does what she has to do, but she doesn't let go of those feelings, and she doesn't necessarily just forgive Caden. She still is suspicious of him and skeptical of him, but she understands that she has to work with him to resolve these problems. I think that she's a great character. And since we're talking about Caden is such an interesting character, and if you haven't read at least the first 2 novels, maybe you should not listen to this. This is going to be a little bit spoilery. I love the transition of Caden to Talcamar, to some amalgamation of the two. I love the concept that Caden is this really ancient being who has a millennia of wisdom and experience, but he has forgotten all of it. And we get to see him kind of regain all of that wisdom, but it's in the mind of almost a different person. He's almost a completely different man. And I love that concept. It was a really compelling and engaging journey to go on with Caden. And even seeing towards the end of the novel where he's still kind of struggling with who he is, who he was, and what kind of man he wants to be. Let me look at the rest of my notes. One point that I don't know if I love or hate is a couple of off-screen deaths. One of them, we know exactly what happened, and one of them we suspect, but we're not sure, and we get informed down the line. Off-screen deaths are hard because all of these characters are important to us as the reader. Have them just leave and then find out after the fact that they've died and we didn't get to be there with them and experience that is just kind of a punch to the gut. I think that I hate it, but I also love it because we feel as bad as the characters feel when they're finding out. So I do think that that is a good literary device to really draw the reader in, but it is still heartbreaking. A couple of the last things I want to talk about, and again, this is a little bit spoilery, I loved seeing the solution to the Davian problem be resolved in real time. We as readers, we see all the pieces. We've already put it together. We understand. Early on, we understand what's going to happen or what has to happen. We see the solution. We're like, it's right there. But the characters are in it. They don't see the solution the same way that we do. So watching the solution happen, watching Caden get there on his own was really satisfying for me as a reader. It's great to see what you think should happen play out. I do think it was still a satisfying conclusion, even knowing what was going to happen. In the vein of trying to resolve the Davian problem, I did really appreciate seeing Caden's desperation and seeing him so desperate to save this last person alive who he really truly loves. He has spent more time with Davian than any of the other characters. This is someone he deeply cares about and he wants to save so badly. Caden was unable to save Elle. He couldn't save the Venerate. He couldn't save Caroline. This is like the last person that he has, and he is so desperate just to be able to do that one thing, to just save Davian. How do I say it? I appreciated seeing his struggle and the turmoil even of thinking that he can't do this thing. It's really the only thing he wants. He wants to save someone he loves, going through this very difficult final moments of wanting to just save his friend. And that's pretty much it. I thought it was fantastic, a really good conclusion of the story. I think that if you enjoyed the Stormlight Archive, the Wheel of Time, that you may also enjoy the Lycanius trilogy.